My name is George Dalton Talbot IV. In 1967, I was drafted in the United States Army. And my first duty station, official duty station, was the Republic of Vietnam. And when I came back from my first tour, my mother said, "Well, where are your pictures?" "What pictures, Mom?" "I got my nose, toes, and fingers and stuff." She said, "Well, your cousin was there, and he took pictures and showed them where he lived." I said, "All right, Mom, when I go back, I'm gonna take some pictures." "You're going back?" "Yeah, Mom." So after I went back, I went to the Army PX in Cholon, which is right outside of Saigon, and I bought it was a Yashica Electro 35 GT camera for the princely sum of $34.50. Well, I got hooked. I went around taking pictures of the barracks where I was, the people on the street, the architecture, actually everything. If it didn't move or it didn't move fast enough, I got a photograph of it. And it became like an obsession, it became like an addiction. And from there, every time you turned around, I also did pictures for the unit when we had award ceremonies and so forth. I would photograph those. And I did a little slideshow for a group in, I believe it was in Illinois, of the unit and things, and that's how I got started. Working for the Senate is a whole new world. It's political, but because the office I am is non-political, I get to work for both sides of the aisle. In fact, I'm one of the few people who have been in private meetings with Republicans and Democrats, and they think nothing of it. When they have they have trips, they have what they call their hideaways they go to, and they go to this place, and they sometimes go to Baltimore, they get into Atlanta, to different places. Sometimes they take a photographer with them. Well, I'd go to both. And one would ask, "This was George, what did the Democrats do 2 weeks ago?" I said, "You want me to tell them what we did tonight, this weekend?" And they say, "Good answer," and they'd walk off. But I was trusted. And I was also a Codell photographer for the last trip for Trent Lott. And when he left, Bill Frist became majority leader, and I was his Codell photographer, and they took me all over the world. I mean, I've been to about 19 countries between the two of them. On one trip in Spain with Trent Lott and his wife, it was really interesting. Somebody told them that I had a birthday on April 20th. They found out. So I had a birthday party for me by 6 sitting senators in a cave restaurant overlooking the Alhambra in Spain. And I'll never forget that. And we were in China with Bill Frist on another birthday that they knew about. This time it was in a hotel in the middle of a SARS epidemic. And they had a pink birthday cake, which was about that wide and that tall, covered with pink roses. And I had 9 sitting senators toasting me with champagne for my birthday. So it doesn't get any better than that. How do you know in imagery what George Washington looked like? How do you know what the war in the Crimea, which was the first war that's been photographed, looks like? How do you know what Antietam, Gettysburg looked like after the battles if it wasn't for Matthew Brady? And how do you know what the jungles in Vietnam look like if you hadn't been there? That's why documentary is very important. It's a part of history, but it's visual history. It's no way you can predict the future without knowing the history and what went on before. You don't know what Genghis Khan looks like from one painting. You don't know what it was like to be there in the middle of the Crusades. None of that is done. You have tapestry, you have paintings, but that's an interpretation, but it's not a literal interpretation. With documentary, you can see, you can almost feel and hear what actually went on. That's why documentary photography is very important, because you want a visual history. Yes, I know photos can lie, you can pose them and all that, but still, how do you know what people look like and what clothes they wore in the 40s and even in the 50s? You know, you talk about happy days, you see it on television, anywhere. But that's what's important, how it really is. And that's why I believe documentary photography. What I do is PR, I do portraits, I make people look good. That's not the same thing. You can put it in the ring with propaganda. It is. We don't call it that, but it is. That's something too. It does show one side of something, but documents tell you what's behind the scenes, what's actually going on. And that's why it's very important. And especially important today. It's always been important. The biggest difficulty most photographers have, especially photographers of color, is being taken serious. People think, and this can be, and I don't take it from a black perspective. When I started Earl Howard Studios, people would not sign contracts with us because we were black. We were not good enough as the white studios. When I started there in 72. Within the 7 years I worked there, we had contracts with every junior high and high school in DC except one. The studio, I won't mention their names, there's 3 of them, that did the graduations for all the schools in DC, went out of business. We were the only one left. We were the first studio in DC to have all color pictures. Everybody else had black and white. And they would have hand-colored 1 or 2 prints. Because I have mine, you know, and mine, all of them are black and white. We put them out of business by using all natural colors, we call it. Now, I did racing for 15 years. The companies I worked for were in California. They didn't know I was black. I was the only one of 3 black photographers who did racing. So I would go to a racetrack, and if I seen a representative from the company, I'd make sure I avoided them. And every year they would invite you to the magazine headquarters in December for a party. I would never go because I was always thinking, when they realized I was black, they're not going to hire me anymore. So I said, well, I take the chance. So I didn't do it. But later on, I found out it didn't matter because just like at the Senate, race is one of those things you can overcome. It can be overcome. It's not easy. And the biggest rule in photography and in life, respect yourself. Everybody will notice it, and you will get the respect of others too. I remember in the 70s, if you were a black photographer for any major newspaper in any city, you had to photograph black subjects. What are black subjects? Black subjects is prostitution, homelessness, crime, unwed mothers, and that sort of thing, which is always, to me personally, has been interesting because I grew up in the 50s with 2 parent households. All of my kids. We had 1 person in elementary school who didn't have a father. He was killed in Korea. Everybody else had 2-parent households. And sometimes they even had their grandmother or an aunt living there with them because mom worked and dad worked and they took care of the kids. Which was interesting. So we had a lot of grannies and aunties growing up. And it offended me because why can't you shoot other things besides? Why does it have to be black subjects? Well, that was the mindset at the time in the 50s. Black folks and minorities didn't exist. You didn't see them on television. You didn't see them anywhere, but they're on the streets. And that was something that really interests me. And that was one of the reasons I didn't go to mainstream newspapers, because of that thing. And I said I didn't want to be a part of the propaganda against that. I have the only thing that I'm kind of disappointed in, well, actually 2 things. They go hand in hand. One is I was the first African American official Senate photographer, and the last and the only. And that bothers me. It's nice to be the first of many, or first of 2, 3, 4, but to be the first of all, to me, is like a glitch in a computer. It's a mistake, that bothered me. The other thing is I don't see the number of African American photographers out here working in the news as I did before. Most of them have retired and gone on. I don't see them anymore. I don't know why. Nobody can tell me. Nobody seems to know. I know one Latin photographer who's very good, named Pablo, and one Asian whose name is Alex Wong. These are all friends of mine. But that's it. The good thing I do see, I see more women. I see, oh my God, all the women, which I think is good, because everybody needs a perspective that you're not going to get. You're not going to get the same perspective as a man. In certain things and places, you can go, I can't. Just like certain places I can go, which are more, that you can't go because you are a woman. The more diversity there is in the news, the more diversity are in photographies, the more the real story gets told, the more history is told. That's the only thing I would like to see more, and I'm trying to encourage that as much as I can.